interception. Lino Loso. What a remarkable drive, man. That's an All-American drive right here.
It's not exactly unwarranted. Like, when you have a guy as that electric.
The legend himself, the GOAT, Dre Crowell.
Where my warm bottle movement at?
That kills your argument right there.
Anything can happen. This game is not over. What's good, Relocation Football League fans? It's your boy Smitty, as always, here with the weekly RFL podcast. Here, as we like to call it, the Bellcast, because definitely going to be hearing a few of those. But we got Bill with me here, as always, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Hey, we're ready to get into this week and what happened, and of course, what's to come for Week 13. This is already pretty much the start of when the playoff, and every game just matters. It's going to be huge. But let's see the games that set the tone heading into this week, as we first start off with the Orlando Wizards traveling into Mexico City to take on the Diablos. Now, I had a feeling this game was going to be defensive. It definitely turned out to be, even though the Wizards have really struggled this year, sitting at 4-7 after this loss. I mean, they've always been a pretty good defensive team, but so are the Diablos, holding the Wizards to 7 points. They get the victory here, 16-7.
Yeah, man, this is a hard-fought game. An entertaining one, too, even though there wasn't a lot of points. But this Wizards defense, they came to play, and they played how I expected them to play pretty much all season. I think we all sort of expected them to have a better outing than what they've been having. And, they came out and they had Pritchett looking really, really sort of lost out there at times. He just did not get into a rhythm. They were making a lot of plays, and luckily they had a guy by the name of Madison Axel, man, because when your passing game can't get going, you got to be able to rely on the running game. And they did just that. 200 yards. Yeah, it took 37 carries, but they got the 200 yards. And honestly, without that big performance from Axel, I don't know if they can get out of this game alive with a W. And it was just a good game overall against two teams. And like, if this was last year, this is easily a playoff preview, because the Wizards last year were a whole different team. The defense of this game was what the Wizards were last year all year, and it's just a really good game. But Diablos, when you have these kind of games, you got to be able to win them, and you got to find ways to do it, and they do in this one. So hats off to them for another big win. And I'm liking to see these Wizards. It seems like the inconsistencies we saw earlier this year, they're starting to have like a shorter amount of time in between. I don't know how to explain this. I think you might know what I'm saying, but like, it seemed at first it was just always just what's going on with this team. And then we see a spark, and then we have a couple more games, and then we see a spark. And it seems like that window between sparks is getting a little bit smaller. And I'm just excited to see if these Wizards can sort of finish this year out strong.
Hey, shout out to Nishan in the chat for the $20 donation. Says hashtag league first. Let's get hashtag league first in the chat here. Appreciate the guys who are here watching the podcast. I know there's going to be quite a bit more guys coming in. There's going to be a lot of information for this podcast too. We got a couple more other topics to hit on. But just like you said, when you talk about the Orlando Wizards, this is a team formerly known as the San Antonio Marshals. So hear me, just want to make sure. Okay, now it says it's reconnected. I don't know what that's for, but that happens out the blue once in a while for no reason. But back to what I was saying.
Give the OBS the bell.
OBS, you get the bell, man. Awful. But as I was saying about the Wizards, formerly known as the Marshals, I think the defense has been as great as they were years past as well. I mean, this defense honestly has been playing some really good football this year, I would have to say. But the offense is where the inconsistencies has been at, and they've shown a lot of big, playmaking ability, but for some reason they just have not been able to punch it in for touchdowns. A lot of fumbles this year. And one thing I want to point out also about the Wizards is they had Tyler Agamonte. He had those crazy throws, throughout the season, but they kept losing. He had a lot of interceptions. He got more interceptions than he has touchdowns, and he's not playing for the rest of the year. Travis Frazier steps in. This is his first official game starting this season. And even though he was 13 of 28, under 50% here with 157 yards, you can see he took care of the football, did not throw the interception, as we saw Agamonte do multiple times this season. And I think he took charge of this offense as best as he could. Of course, that's tough to do when you're playing up against the Mexico City Diablos with Marvin Woolfolk, who of course is gracing this game photo for the win. I mean, this guy had 4 sacks in this game. But I think there's some good things to come out of Travis Frazier Jr. This used to be the franchise starting quarterback for these guys, and just had moments where he just fell off. But he actually had some promising looks. Excuse, somebody was calling, my bad. But I'll bail myself for that. But Travis Frazier Jr. He actually did a pretty good job in doing what he could and taking care of the football. That's what we wanted to see. Adam Guerin, gave him an opportunity to start in this game. And, when you get those bulk opportunities to start, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, man. Against this Diablos defense, they shut it down. Madison Axel, of course, the spotlight player of the game. Coach Forbes was hoping for him to be the player of the week, but unfortunately he couldn't do that. And I think the main reason why is for the NRC side, he had no touchdowns in this game, man. But still a fantastic performance and a fantastic win there for Coach Forbes and the Diablos as they move on to 8-3 on the season. The next game following this one at 8 p.m. Eastern was called by Rob Roby, and it was the Elks versus the Desperados. Now, people were expecting the Desperados to come out on top of this one, and we were expecting to see a battle between Tavion Hall and Darius Martin. This was supposed to be that game where it was going down. But unfortunately, the projected MVP took an injury here in the game, and he was unable to return. So Nick Firestorm and the other backs had to step in. They kind of stepped in pretty well. And the Elks, they kind of impressed me with this victory. They share the same record now after the 23-20 win, sitting at 8-3.
I got to bell myself here, guys. If you guys listened last week, man, I pretty much told the Elks that they weren't going to have a chance at all in this game, and man, I think they heard me because they came out, and I don't know if this is all based off of the Hall injury and he's really that big of a part of this team, or if Eric Fisher had a chip on his shoulder to prove to his old team that he is a good quarterback. But man, they looked really different. The Elks defense, I thought, played really well despite still giving up the 20 points. They almost looked like themselves from last year. And when this team can roll, they can hang with almost anybody. This is a talented team. I know their record is 8-3, and I'm talking about them like they're middle of the road, but we've seen the struggles that they've had and some of the inconsistencies lately. And I'm just waiting for this team to sort of show out. And Fisher, if he can continue to play at just this, he doesn't even need to be fantastic, but 20 of 31 for 220 and a touchdown, you're not costing your team the game. You're not making big mistakes. And that is all they need, because they have Darius Martin back there, who is just an animal when he's in a zone. And this was a good game, huge game for the Elks, especially considering they're trying to keep the Snowhawks and the Crusaders at bay. And, they just took advantage of the Hall injury, I think. I feel like that really affected this Desperados team quite a bit. You can see here, Firestorm did well coming in, and he really did take as much pressure off of Mason as he could, but it's just not the same without Tavion Hall. And Mason's stats sort of show that.
And what I heard and saw people saying was like, you still got to give it to the Elks. This is a very impressive win to them. The running backs came in and they did a pretty good job. But I do still feel like Tavion Hall being missing was still a factor. And like I was going to say is that people were saying like, well, Firestorm and Spicer came in, got the job done on the ground. But if you look at those crucial moments where if it had been Tavion Hall in the game, especially in one of the situations where Nick Firestorm got stuffed right at the 1 yard line at the goal line to score on a crucial down, I think if that's Tavion Hall, that's a punch in and they win this game. So it definitely is an impact of them not having their star. Now, we already know that Tavion Hall, man, this guy's a stud. I mean, he suffered a torn labrum. We got, I believe it's Cheeseburger that got injured for the Barons. He's out for 5 weeks. Yep. And Tavion Hall, he's going to be back after 1 week of being missing. So, guy is just very durable. It's just an absolute beast. He'll be back. But, of course, he was missed here in this game, and they missed out on a victory here that they possibly could have got. But still, the Elks came out here, did their job, and they handled business. So congrats to the Elks, trying to stay afloat and try to stay in the talks of winning their division there over there in the West. So that's an impressive win, and the Desperados looking to bounce back after this tough loss. They're in a tough division too there in the NRC South that they got to try to keep up. 3-way tie just about every week. But moving on to the Super Saturday games, we started off with the London Black Knights traveling to OKC to take on the Bisons, and the Bisons were projected to win this game, but Coach Carter had other plans and beat them with twice the amount of points, 18-14. It was a pretty solid game, though.
I thought it was a solid game, but I really liked what the Black Knights did up front on defense because they really seemed to control the line of scrimmage and really hold the Bison's rushing attack from really getting any momentum. And yeah, Hobart had a pretty decent day. He had the interception, but a really good completion percentage, really good passing yards. But it just seemed like the Black Knights almost always had the ball to me. Like they were just killing the time of possession battle between them and the Bisons. And when you have that happen, man, you're gonna wear that defense down, and you're gonna any kind of momentum the offense can build up is gonna just wither away as they're sitting there on the sidelines drinking their 5th cup of Gatorade. And this is the kind of game you're gonna get when you can control the tempo, when you can control the line of scrimmage. It's always a recipe for success, and the Black Knights had it this week.
And you could see a big reason on why they've had some success. They just honestly, as you can see here from the stats, Jay Morris, he's the main back. I think he gets all the carries, and he only had 9 carries in this game. They kind of stepped away from running it. It looks like they barely just had the football just from looking at the stats and from actually watching the game. They shut down the run game and forced Devin Hobart to have to pass, and there was a lot of situations on 3rd down in which they were not able to convert, and that is what killed their drives early. And the Black Knights just kept sustaining their drives with a lot of plays. I mean, 48 passes from Holden and Wolf, and then you had 27 carries from Langford Cloud. So that goes to tell you that these guys were just absolutely keeping possession of the ball with great drives and just getting chunk after chunk, wearing this defense down and just wearing out this team. And that kept the offense cold off the field. They couldn't really get things going, and they just kept it chucking. And it just kept rolling, getting them off the field quick, staying on the field even longer. So that's just a great game plan, great execution there from the London Black Knights. And as for the Bisons, tough loss there. The Black Knights is a big win for them, and the reason why it's a big win for them is because they're trying to stay alive even in the East. I mean, right now it looks like the Celtic Tigers got a little bit of a hold on it, but they're not too far away, and there's still quite a bit of games left to play this season. You never know how things can shape out in the RFL. The Celtic Tigers do have themselves quite a bit of a tough schedule towards the end of it, so you never know if this Black Knights team, this could be the game that puts them in the playoff talks. So great victory. Next game, we had the Sentinels versus the Bulldogs. I say a really good competitive game. The Sentinels, they've been in a lot of games like this season where it's just been a tough fought down to the end win. DeAndre Wilkins Jr. Coming through in the clutch. I mean, there was no touchdown passes by him, but there also was no interceptions. But they got the win. He did score, though, off a read option, which I was surprised by, and they get the dub 22-17.
I did not see this. What's that?
I said I really shouldn't be surprised because he honestly was a dual threat coming out of college, but didn't do that.
He just never really plays like that.
Yeah.
It's just pocket. But, I didn't see this coming like this. It was a really competitive game, like you said. And, the Bulldogs have just been on such a downward spiral for what seems like forever this season. They really brought it to the Sentinels in this game. And I think this is, like I said last week, the Sentinels just like drama, I think, because this is the 3rd, 4th week in a row where they have these games where it's like anybody can really win in the last minute, and it's got to be nerve-wracking. But I think this came from, again, like I said with the Black Knights, the Bulldogs seem to really control the line of scrimmage on the defensive side of the ball and really did not let the run game get any kind of momentum going for the Sentinels. And in that case, you got to rely on the passing game. And luckily, they do pretty good when they pass. DWJ is no slouch. He's a very, very good quarterback, and he was able to pull this victory out for him. But overall, a very good game, and that I did not anticipate being this competitive. And I on one hand, I am actually really a little impressed with Lawson at this point. I don't know why it's working, but hey, whatever works, I guess. You just got to go with what you can and try to make things work. And right now, Lawson is, even though they're not winning games, that he's looking solid. I really liked it. He's just electric, it seems like, to watch. I don't know how long it's going to work or if it's going to work really at all after this week, but you got to ride the hot hand. And right now he seems to have the hot hand for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, and I listened to the podcast that on the Relocast that Max Wilderson. Shout out to him, man. He's doing a great job on those podcasts, man. I recommend you guys seeing that. Might have to talk with him even on working some things out of having him even on this if possible, or just working for the league in general with his podcasts and just posting those up for things that we can't cover before Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think about that because I think he's done a really good job with his podcast. I really like his podcast. No shade on the rest of you guys doing podcasts out there, but my man Max is killing the game right now, and I got to keep it real. So yeah, that it is what it is. But Dre Lawson. Yeah, I think from like I said, listening to the podcast, Jacob Reed did a good job, just breaking down, just talking about his team and things of that nature. And Lawson, I like the way they've went about things this year, even though it's been a tough year. Guys always say, I've been hearing about what the commissioner or guys that know about the league's been doing. You do want to take advice, if we're trying to give it out there, but you also got to follow your gut on things. And I still think that Reed did a great job of at least showing some type of effort of not just tossing away Timmy Merritt. Like he gave him his opportunity. He didn't deliver last week through 3 interceptions, another L. In comes Dre Lawson. And at this point, I feel like Dre Lawson just has to be the guy. The season's over with. Let's see what we got out of Dre Lawson. At first I was against it because I'm like, man, this guy's a 66 overall. Season's not over yet. There's a chance that if you lose a crucial game, you might not make the playoffs. But now that the playoffs is out the picture and Lawson is delivering at this point, why not just keep using him, develop him up, let him get this experience and, see what happens for next season. He could be your next franchise guy as much as, he tried his best to work with Timmy Merritt. And Timmy Merritt, we know he's not a slouch. And sometimes you have these seasons in the RFL where you're not going to play like you used to. Even like, I know I talk about him a lot, but, I refer to him as the GOAT, but Dre Crowell had himself a season on Madden, what was it, 19? Season 4, where he just did not look like himself. There's certain Maddens where guys just aren't going to play like their usual selves. Another example is just like the last game we covered with the Elks, Darius Martin. Guy was an absolute beast every year, but for some reason in season 5, he could not run the rock. So like this happens, and so Timmy Merritt, Reed talked about it, could be a guy that he possibly, sees and has a battle for, if not traded, if somebody wants him. I don't see anybody trying to get Timmy Merritt though, to be honest, off the team. So I'm pretty sure Timmy Merritt's going to stay there in London, but he could, bounce back next year and see what he's got. But right now we're seeing what Dre Lawson's got, and he's bringing something to the table. He's looking pretty good. 2 touchdowns, got the 1 interception, under 150 yards passing and everything. But he killed it on the ground. He brought that dual element, that excitement that has really caught the eye of Reed. And 122 yards on the ground. He did a pretty good job. He talks about his awareness at 89 overall, 89 awareness attribute. And you can see that does play an effect in how he plays. And so Lawson's not your average 66 overall quarterback. He's really out here able, it looks like, to compete. We'll have to see how long, which has always been the issues, which I talked about. 66 overall is still a 66 overall. It will show. But we'll have to see, like I said. But the Sentinels grinded it out, got the job done. They're just doing what they do. Big win for them. They're still staying in the battle with the Black Knights in the East. Great job by Coach Armstrong, and that's a great victory. 7-4, tough loss here for the Bulldogs at 3-8, but we'll have to see if they'll bounce back at some point, or at least get a win before the season's over.
Reed does not. I know he likes to win, but he is not unhappy that he is about to get the elusive number 1 overall.
But that's why were you able to listen to the podcast with Watterson? You talk?
No, I'm not. I didn't listen to the podcast, but all I'm saying is, like, I'm not saying he's not trying to win.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't be mad about it either. Like, hey, yeah, we're having a bad year, but man, we're gonna bring in a really good player next year. So
yeah, either way you look at it, I guess it's a good thing because you got the excitement of Dre Lawson, of possibly being that next possibly star dual threat quarterback, and then you got the first round pick possibly having the number 1, being able to pick the best out this great class that we got coming in. So I guess it is, definitely a win-win situation here for the Bulldogs. But, I still like the fact, in the podcast, he's talking about still competing, trying to win games. The rest of their games are against every team in their division in the East. So they have to play the Sentinels again, the Celtic Tigers, and the Black Knights. That's a tough schedule to finish out, and he said that he would want nothing more than to play spoiler for at least one of those teams. And if you're going to play spoiler for a team, definitely want to try to knock off the CT. I mean, they came close last time. I believe week 4 is 20-17. So we'll have to see how that turns out. But either way, keep fighting, man. You did a good job in this game against the Sentinels. Just came up short. Great win there.
And like you said, man, sometimes, and I didn't believe you the first couple times you said it because I thought it sounded ridiculous, but I'm starting to see it. Like you said, you sort of touched on it before when you're talking. Sometimes this is just not your Madden for your team. It sounds crazy. It sounds like an excuse, but it's honestly legit. Sometimes it's just not your year.
Yeah, it's like real life too, because you can be a championship winning team in the NFL, and then next year you're not playing the same. That's just how it is. And even Reed brought that up in the podcast as well. And just to let you go, no guys, I listen to all the podcasts. So, Roland, I'm gonna put this message out there now, man. You got to calm down a little bit. He wilds out a little bit on his podcast, but he talks about some valid stuff. But man, the dude sometimes get off the wall with some stuff you're talking about. But I listen to everything. That's put out there about the league. But great job by everyone, doing podcasts and everything. But moving on to this game, I called this one to finish out Super Saturday, and for the main event, this was the rematch. Was the Pioneers going to upset and beat the Red Dragons for a second consecutive time? That's a big thing. Were they going to do this? They kind of didn't make it easy, though. But the Red Dragons, they came out a little bit. They still came out with more fire than they had last time. They were ready to play, and they got the victory 24-16.
Yeah, I feel like there was a new church that opened up in San Diego, and it was called the Worshiping of Mike Luke, because that guy saved the game, I think, for them. I really thought the Pioneers were going to win this game, and that sack just killed it. But they were driving, and they were putting it to the Red Dragons pretty good. And yeah, I was a little nervous. I know Coach Davis was nervous, but
yeah,
it seems like the Pioneers have their number. I don't know what it is. It's obviously. It's a divisional game, is it not?
Yeah, it's a divisional game.
Yeah, it's a divisional. So that's gonna be always a little bit tighter, but they just don't seem to have that kind of thorn in the side of any other division team. It just always seems to be the Red Dragons. So yeah. I feel for Davis on that one, but luckily they get their revenge win against the Pioneers to tie it up for the season, and they can go on and hopefully get a couple more wins to get themselves back in the playoffs. But yeah, what a game, man. The Pioneers, they got some grit to them. They just need a little bit more.
Yeah, and for anybody who's been following the league for a long time, the OGs out there will tell you, we talk about the Pioneers. They had a 2-year losing streak. But this has been a team that's been tough to beat always. Even when they were in the slump years, they've came out in some pretty close games where they could have won, and teams have came out on top. So Pioneers have never really been a slouch team. They just always ended up on the wrong end of things when it came to the win and loss column. But they came out here and put up a really good fight. I've been kind of impressed with George McAfton. He's getting better and better. He did still throw an interception in this game. But I would have to say, with Andre Thompson, the run game, that's one of the things that's really frustrating when you watch this Pioneers team, to just not run the ball enough. I think both of these running backs are averaging extremely high on the ground every time they touch the ball. They're just not getting the ball enough. Andre Thompson had a nice, I believe, 43-yard touchdown run, and that doesn't happen every day against this Red Dragons defense. I said that in the game, and he just took off on them, took it to the house for a touchdown, and I think if they had more of that, this game could have even been even closer. So the Pioneers, I'm still shocked that they're sitting at 6-5 this season. We thought this was going to be another team that lost just about every game, especially with the start that George McAfton had this year. But Anthony Savoy, he came out, he played a pretty good game, man. Didn't scramble again in this game. Went 22 of 33. That's good percentage right there, 66%. 270, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and then, of course, CJ Bobo, man, Animal, Eaton, and Andrew McIntosh, I have to say, was the player of the game for the Red Dragons. He just couldn't be stopped by this defense. Great win there for the Red Dragons. Moving on to the Sunday games, we had the Huskies versus Dreadnoughts. This was the first game we were going to see what the Dreadnoughts look like with their free agent signing, John Copeland. They talked about Marty Eggert, but I'm pretty sure after this game, Marty Eggert is just completely out the picture. John Copeland came out here, and for his first RFL debut, went 24-29, 337 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 0 0 interceptions against the Huskies defense, and they get the victory 39-22.
I'm really glad you said this guy's first name because I had no clue what his name was before you did. I just knew him as Copeland, but what a performance by that guy. He just walks in off the street and just goes to town on the Huskies, man. That I did not see that coming. That was impressive. I got to give it to Mr. Copeland there and Frankie because me and you both were like, I don't know if this is a good call already to just get rid of McBriss and bring in a bunch of randoms to place into the spot of Matt Jones while he's getting healthy, but it worked, man. I don't know if it's that veteran in him or what, because this guy was just unstoppable today, and he likes to actually throw the ball to Cam Jones.
I know, right?
I mean,
another
finally.
thing too, Frankie, he just seems to have a knack for finding free agent stars at quarterback.
Yeah,
I don't know
what he's doing. I don't know.
Guys.
We have to start checking some transactions here. Maybe he's got something up his sleeve that we don't know about because he's just finding these studs all the time. Who is John Copeland? Can anybody tell me that? Aside, like before today, nobody knew who he was, and here he is throwing 4 touchdowns and over 300 yards against the Huskies. I mean, that's not. I mean, I know their defense is not exactly the best as it has been, but they were still a very good team, and I just didn't see this coming, man. Hats off to the Dreadnoughts. This is what you got to do when you're faced with adversity, and they get it done. Hopefully Copeland can carry this into next week because, man, that's he might earn himself an RFL contract after this season.
Yeah, I doubt it, though, unfortunately. The man's 35 years old.
Oh, never mind.
He's done for after this. He's 74 overall. I'm pretty sure regression is going to punch him in the face harder than Mike Tyson. But when it comes to the receivers of this game, Keith Guyton and Cam Jones, these guys just had themselves a day. It was pretty much those two going at it. But what I was really impressed with, this is not the number one passing defense for no reason. The Dreadnoughts did not give up a passing touchdown at all in this game to Brady Hudson, and they picked him off twice. Both of those interceptions coming from Trey Sinclair. And man, what a pickup he was off a trade, from the Bisons, because this defense has just stepped up on another level in the secondary ever since acquiring him. They always had Roosevelt mixing there, holding his side down, getting things done. But even with those two guys, got to give it to Keith Guyton, man. Keith Guyton just doing what he does. He was burning both of them, and they couldn't really stop him. But when you have just one receiver getting it done, you're still getting pressure there to the quarterback. Hudson was sacked quite a few times, rushed quite a few times, hit quite a few times. And then Corey Leonidas, this is pretty much the lifeblood of this team, man. That when he's not going, it's tough for this offense because he's usually always on his game when it comes to the running game. 22 carries, only 64 yards. That's less than 3 yards per carry. So the Dreadnoughts did an all-around great job on the defensive side of the ball. Javonte Gilliam just stepping in, handling business. This guy even had the game-winning touchdown, Moss in the defensive back. And I have to bell the Huskies big time because I don't know what the secondary was doing at all in this game. But that is the worst I've ever seen them look as a unit. And Cam Jones is understandable for him getting embarrassed. But what was going on when my man Amari Fort ran a streak straight down the middle of the field and there was no safety?
Wide open.
I mean, I don't know if that was a play call or what, but let's bell these guys again because they were awful. They gave up everything. They could not stop a catch. They were getting mossed. They looked like they didn't want to play defense. They looked like they didn't want to be there. They wanted to play offense instead, but they couldn't even catch an interception, even if it was thrown at their chest. And I mean, these guys were just absolutely getting fried. It's the bell cast. This ain't the bell cast for no reason. Let's play another bell for these guys because, once again, that defense was atrocious. And they got to do better, man. They got to do better.
Yeah, they do. Hey, has the Huskies gotten into like a rough part of their schedule or something?
Right now, I don't have the schedule near me.
I'm just curious, like the last few weeks, if they have been playing like a lot better teams than what we saw earlier this year, because it's like, I don't know if it's tougher opponents or if like the offensive line is struggling lately, but it seems like Leonidas is having a really hard time to get going the last like month of the season, and it's really
I don't know about that. Leonidas before this game was rushing for like 100 yards.
I've seen like 3 or 4 games at this point already because he's always been the guy that, like, if I see the Huskies winning a big game, he's always going off. But it just seems like as we get farther into the season, I'm seeing more and more of these situations where he's not being able to really let loose in games like I saw earlier this year when it was like every week. That's why I was just curious because it's apparent usually when the Huskies are losing, it's when Leonidas gets locked up. He seems to be like their key, and this is like at least the third time I've seen him get sort of shut down, and every single time it's resulted in a loss.
Let me go ahead and check just to see what their schedule is right here. I'm pulling up on the DL. But all right, so loss. I'm not going to go through the entire schedule here, but what week would you like to look from?
I'm not like pinpointing anything exactly. I was just asking a basic question because it just seems like Leonidas the last few times these guys have had a loss is the only times he's ever really getting shut down, and it's starting to be more of a constant to me.
Yeah, so they played the Armadillos week 8, beat them 28-17. Played the Aviators, got demolished 48-13. Now that's a tough defense this year. You know, Aviators usually aren't known for, so that's a tough defense. And then they just, of course, played. Well, that's not just, of course. They played the Cougars, and they had a big win over the Cougars a week ago, 28-6. And of course, they took this loss here to the Dreadnoughts, who we know have a very solid defense. So I wouldn't quite say, you know, I think that this was one of the few games this year that Leonidas had got shut down. But, you know, there's been some games even this season that he's played great and they still lost. And it mainly does, even though we talk about how good this Huskies defense is at times, you know, has been, they kind of been getting punched on a little bit this season, you know, and their defense has lost them quite a bit of games. Let me go back to this Riverhawks game. No, actually, they came back and beat the Riverhawks in that game. Okay, so never mind. I thought it was the other way around. But, yeah, so I don't know what's going on. I mean, they're not sitting bad. I mean, I believe every single team except for the Aviators there in the ARC North are tied up at 7-4 this season. So, I mean, they're sitting pretty good. But, you know, you don't want to take too many losses because at this point, everything is just big time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and move on to the game that followed. This was a huge game. This is in your division there in the NRC North. Very important. The winner was going to take charge, going to take lead of the division heading into this upcoming week. And it was the rematch between the Thunderbirds and the Barons. The Barons, for the second consecutive year in their first meeting, were able to beat the Thunderbirds. Second time, history repeats itself. Thunderbirds gets it done, but it wasn't easy. It was a defensive battle the whole way through, and the Thunderbirds were able to survive to improve to 8-3 on the season to take lead in the NRC North, 16-10.
Yeah, this was a very competitive and defensive game as well, which was something that, you know, you always expect some type of defensive battle when it comes to the Thunderbirds. And I think Rob said it best on the stream. You know, the Barons lost, but they played a heck of a game. You really don't have much to hang your head about. You're going to lose some of these games like this, and the Thunderbirds are a team that this happens to quite a bit. You know, the Diablos it happened to just like a week or so ago. And this is sort of how they work. It's the Thunderbirds are a team that they are very, very easy to figure out and simple, but they're so well disciplined and so talented that it's almost impossible to stop them, even though you know what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stop the offense, obviously. But then really the biggest test of the game is not allowing the defense to make too many plays on you. They're going to make plays.
Survive the defense.
Exactly.
That's
yeah.
what it is.
Like they're going to make plays, but you have to find ways to minimize it. And this is the kind of outcome that comes from a lot of their games because they have a very stout and disciplined defense. And, you know, like I said, the Barons played a heck of a game. And with this game and like the last game when they had that huge turnout with all the picks against the Thunderbirds. I remember that was a big win for them. You know, this is now a three team conference or division. You know, last year it was, you know, sometimes Roland likes to talk a lot and sometimes it doesn't go exactly how he plans it to. And he got to take some heat from some guys in the Discord, but that's what you get when you're that confident. And it was always like, well, you're almost there, but you're not quite there yet. Well, you can't say that anymore. You know, this is a three-headed monster in the NRC North at this point. You can't just say the Thunderbirds are first, the Explorers, and then, well, the Barons are up and coming. I think they've arrived, and I think this is, at this point, this is just a three-headed monster in the NRC North that is going to be really fun to watch the next couple of years.
Yeah, it just seems like the Tigers are drowning in the back.
Yeah, they are.
But
They're
we never know when their come up will be.
Yeah, they're not coming in for a while. They're left outside for a little bit.
This was just a great battle all the way to the end. And it almost seems like you have no choice but to play the Thunderbirds game because you can shut down the offense for the most part all you want, especially this year because they were left without any of their previous weapons. Of course, we already know the situation with the receiving situation, and they've been just picking up wide receivers out of free agency left and right, just trying guys out. And they're just picking up guys enough for the offense to survive enough to keep going, to put up whatever amount of points they can. But it's like I said, it's like you're forced to play their game because you have to beat these guys with offense. That's the bottom line. You can beat on their offense all you want with the defense. You got to beat these guys with offense. If you can score more points offensively than their offense against their defense, that's just regular football, you would think. But it's more so tailored towards what the Thunderbirds do. I mean, you have to be able to, in some way, be successful and win this game. Of course, I really feel like without Kenny Steele in this game, it made a huge impact also. I've seen certain situations Kenny Steele could have broke in certain, I think he would have been an impact player, and I think this was the last week he's going to be out. But, unfortunately, he wasn't here. You have to try to do what you can. They tried their best, and, it's the Thunderbirds defense, man. What can you say? They just do what they do best, force turnovers and put up just enough points offensively to win the game. This is how they play football. This is why this is always a scary team. And even going in the postseason, even though they played in a lot of close games, this is a team you do not want to see in the postseason because it's hard to beat them that way. And, the Barons, you got to give them credit, though. They did the best they could. They just couldn't get enough points. And even then, they didn't even score an offensive touchdown at all in this game. It was literally off of a fake field goal with Caleb Brown. I believe that's his first ever RFL touchdown, too.
Yeah.
So
I think so.
So shout out to KB. But, Thunderbirds, we had a feeling they was going to bounce back, and they got it done. But Barons definitely didn't make it easy. Definitely was a close game here in this one. This division's still up for grabs there in the North, so we'll have to see what happens. Moving on to the next game. Cougars back in action versus the Bulls. And this was the perfect game from Geno Gannon. There was nothing in this game that this kid did that was flawed. This was the type of play that everyone's been expecting to see out of him. He did a little bit of this earlier in the season, but this was by far, in my opinion, his best game of his RFL career as a rookie coming into this league. I mean, he just dominated, did everything right. And they ended up blowing out the Bulls 38-17.
Yep. Go ahead and bail me again. Maybe even twice. 3 times. So I everybody heard me last week. All the guys. I know Rob listened. He didn't say nothing to me, but I know he heard. I'm sure Markel and Chrome did. I said that these guys were probably not going to win if this can't get figured out because Geno is just having such a hard time get things under control. But man, that now I look stupid because they came out and just dominated. Geno walked up to midfield before the game. He looked these Bulls in the eyes and he's like, "How do you guys want it?" And then just proceeded to throw for over 250, 80% completions, 3 touchdowns through the air. Oh yeah, let me just go ahead and rush for over 102 and another touchdown while I just dismantle this defense and make me look stupid because I predicted they were going to lose. That's like the first time, by the way, this whole season that I actually picked against the Cougars, and that's the time that they just ball out and make me look like a fool. So, yeah, I deserve the bell. Great game for the Cougars. I know. I'm just saying. I'm accepting it. But this is the Cougars team that I think we've all expected all season long because, yeah, they've had the offensive struggles with Geno trying to figure things out in the RFL, and we've had the inconsistencies with his play and all the sacks, but this team is still one of the best teams in the league, hands down. And this is why, like, they have so much talent that as long as Gannon can play within the parameters of the offense without causing too many mistakes, this team is going to win 9 out of 10 games. They are a very talented team. And this doesn't surprise me at all. If Gannon can continue even half of this production every week, they're not even close to being out of the playoffs yet. I think they have a real shot yet. This is a good team and a great bounce back win for them because they've had a rough go of it before their little bye stretch there. So good job for the Cougars.
Yeah, like I said, Geno Gannon just played the perfect game. But also another thing, of course, that got undermined by that perfect performance was the defense of the Cougars. Now, the defense is always for the most part, been solid this year, but they have been inconsistent, especially when it comes to finishing out games in the second half. The last time they played the Bulls, they were up 24-3 and blew a 21-point lead and ended up losing that game 31-24. So, they rematched this team again, and they did not want that to happen. I believe by the first half, it was 24-7. If I'm not mistaken, it was 24-7 in the first half, I believe. If it wasn't 24-7, it was probably 21-7, but I'm pretty sure it was 24-7. And Geno Gannon, this guy, he just balled out of his mind, like I said, but this guy was treating Jack Brown. Let's play a bell for Jack Brown, man. And it's not even because he's a bad linebacker or he looked bad in his game as a linebacker. It's just like he couldn't hang with Geno Gannon, man. Geno Gannon was tossing this guy out the club, man. Like he was just throwing him out there like he was underage. That first stiff arm where he broke the long run for the first down was crazy. Then he followed it up, stepped up in the pocket, acted as if he was going to scramble, stopped, and then threw a dime for a touchdown. This guy showed you everything you wanted to see in a quarterback, especially a dual threat. And in that crazy last touchdown he had, which was his last rushing touchdown, it was a 7-yard touchdown. This guy chicken wings him. A truck chicken wing. This stiff, I don't know what it was. Some type of truck that he did on Jack Brown, threw him into his own teammate linebacker, I believe it was Gabe Stringer, and then spanned his way in the end zone for a touchdown. That was just probably the best quarterback performance from a dual threat I've seen this year. I got to say it. It is the best dual threat performance from a quarterback I've seen this year. And Matt Jones has had some impressive games for sure when he was healthy. But Geno Gannon, in my opinion, takes the case. And this is the reason why he's in the talks, man, and a high favorite to possibly win MVP this year. In his rookie year, he'll be the first player in RFL history to ever do so if he does that. And that's not the only area in which he's close to breaking history. It's not really history because it's been done before, but there hasn't been a quarterback to rush for over 1,000 yards in the RFL since season 3. And that was back since Jabri Jackson, LC3, and surprisingly enough, even though he doesn't scramble at all anymore, Joseph Gidley. Those are the only 3,000-yard quarterbacks ever in the RFL. And Geno Gannon, man, making history. It looks like he could probably even surpass those guys in his first season as a rookie. And it's just phenomenal performance, man. And the defense, can't credit them enough either. Keanu Jones, shout out to him too. Outstanding performance. Locked up anybody that was in his direction when Kearney tried to throw to him. Had the one interception, which was his first interception on the season. Outstanding performance. That's all I can say. Okay, here we go. Next game, and this is the final game of the week. We had the Condors versus the Crusaders. This is a hard-fought battle, more defensive than I thought it was going to be. These are two teams that I felt have had historically in the RFL the worst defenses. Yeah, the worst defenses in the league, but they somehow managed to shut down each other's high-powered offense. But the Crusaders end up staying alive with a big win in the division to keep up with the Elks and the Snowhawks as they get the victory over the Condors 19-13.
Yeah, and actually that's going to lead to my final bell of the day, and that goes to the Condors for allowing Wakefield or getting Wakefield to throw 3 picks like this and still end up not being able to capitalize and win this game, because we've seen what happens when some of these guys get into these pick-happy situations. It does not usually go well for that team, but the Condors couldn't get it done on offense. They could not get the ball into the end zone at all to try to take advantage of it, and they dropped the game. Hats off to the Crusaders for holding strong and not letting the interceptions, ruin the game for them. But I feel that this was the Condors' game to win because of that. You can't force 3 picks, only allow 19 points, and then put up 13 and not win the game. Especially like you said, neither of these guys really have that great of defenses. They don't even have good defenses at this point. And I'm not even trying to be rude about it. It's just the fact of the matter. They have a lot of work they got to do on the defensive side of the ball. I didn't expect such a low scoring game, like you said, but man, this was a big win for the Crusaders to be able to hold on, because they are right there neck and neck with the Elks and the Snowhawks. And if they lost this game, I don't think they can make that game back up for the end of the year. And I really thought that the Condors, with the way they were forcing interceptions and getting turnovers, they should have this game. So that's tough loss for the Condors, but great win for the Crusaders to keep their season alive.
And I'm going to bell the Condors again because, as you said, I mean, 3 interceptions, you should be coming out on top with this game. And that's against a great quarterback in Ben Wakefield. Had this guy under 50% throwing the football. But the big issue was Chase McCoy, surprisingly, was under 50%, and by a pretty big margin, just about 19 of 43, 180 yards. There was some drop passes, though. There's quite a few drop passes that could have been big. And so I guess you can't put it all on Chase McCoy, but Chase McCoy did not look like his usual self here in this game. And I do think that the Crusaders defense stepped up in a big way at certain times, and the Condors just were not able to capitalize off of these opportunities and put up the points. So that's really all I got to say about this game. It's really nothing too much to say, but the Crusaders just getting it done. And then Byron Benedict, he's the hot hand guy right now at running back. And so Coach Bacigalupi just keeping him there. I mean, I guess why not? Look at this. He's showing consistency, 34 yards, 34 carries, 123 yards and a touchdown. Even though it's against the Condors defense, you've seen him play up against some pretty solid defenses this year. So he's looking like he's a pretty legit guy, enough to keep rocking with for this season. So good win there for the Condors, like I said, to keep them alive. And we'll have to see how things turn out there in the NRC West because things are getting spicy in a lot of divisions. But that's it for the recaps of this past week's games. Let's go ahead and get a look at this upcoming schedule. And we are stacked with games this week.
Man.
We got 8 Super Saturday games coming you guys' way. That's a lot of games. So let's go ahead and first start off in order. Starting on Thursday, tomorrow, what our games are going to be, 6 p.m. Eastern. We got the spreads here on the screen. And so at 6 p.m. Eastern, Crusaders going up against the Elks. And the Elks are projected to win by 4 or more points at home. You got them doing that?
Yeah, I do. I got the Elks winning. I just want to see what I saw from Fisher last week. He's got to be more consistent. I think he can do it. He's got to rely on Martin like they did last week as well to really get the offense going. I think they get it done against the Crusaders defense, who, as we just said, is not the most consistent defense in the league. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And since these are my projections anyway, I guess I don't really have too much to say about that. But this is a big one. I think this is game of the week. You got 2 healthy teams now. This is the NRC, the NRC North. I have to say, up there, one of the biggest rivalries in the league. Could very well be tied up, if not the best. Thunderbirds and Explorers. I got the Thunderbirds, though, 2.5 point by field goal or more. Of course, you're going to go with your team, but just walk through the thoughts of this game on how big this is going to be. Rob Roby will be calling this one. I expect everyone to come to that game. That's always a great game. But just break down everything about this matchup, thoughts and everything.
Well, obviously, this is a huge game. I think that this is the make or break game for the Explorers this year. Worrell is back this week. He has been back since we went on our little RFL bye weeks, I should say, auto wins, and he is now back, ready to rock. It's going to be tough because this is his first action, so I can't say for sure what kind of Worrell we're going to get. We've never seen him on the PlayStation 5. We've barely even seen him on Madden 21 as a whole. So it's going to be a tough game for sure. But like I said, this is a huge win, or be prepared to sit home for in June when we get to the playoffs, because we're right there right now. But one bad game and the Barons are right there. The Thunderbirds obviously still have the advantage on both of us. So big game for us this week. I got to take my squad to win it. I think we can pull something out. I think we can get a win. We've been able to shut down the offense on multiple occasions. It's just like I said, with the same with the Barons game. You got to find ways to not allow the defense to dictate the game. And if you can do that, you have a good shot against the Thunderbirds. So hopefully Worrell can give us that little extra spark to get something happening and get us on the right track for the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely, in my opinion, game of the week, with health being all the way there for both teams. Always a great game. There's a lot of great games this week. Let's go ahead and move over to Saturday, though. That'll be the next slate of games. Starting with the Lancers. Tigers are finally back in action, and they'll be at home taking on the Lancers. But I think I got the Lancers winning by a pretty sizable margin by 5 or more points against the Tigers. They're struggling, but the Tigers do get back Bryce Madden. So this could go either way, but I'm confident in the Lancers to get this dub, though.
I want to say the Lancers, but I feel like I don't know, man. I feel like the Tigers got one or more games left in them yet this season to really just throw a wrench in everybody's plans. They're at home. We saw what they've done at full force earlier in the year. I'm gonna give them the win this one. I'm gonna give them the win.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Interesting. All
They're a
right.
good team, man. They got some stuff to work out, but they don't get any breaks from the division they're in. They just don't.
I think they got like one of the toughest schedules too this year too.
Yeah. And I really like what they've done with what they've been handed already. So
Yeah. All right. Another 1 p.m. game. Desperados versus Wizards. Got the Desperados bouncing back after their tough loss to the Elks by 6 or more points over the Wizards.
yeah, I think this one's gonna go the Desperados way. I liked what I saw from the Wizards last week, but I don't see the Desperados even without Hall dropping, 2 games in a row. They're just too talented this year. So I'm going to give it to the Desperados with the spread.
All right, division rivalry game right here in the ARC West. Last 1 p.m. Eastern game is the Pioneers versus the Voyagers. I got the Voyagers winning at home by 4 or more.
I can call that one. Yeah, Voyagers at home with the spread for sure. Yeah, Pioneers been overachieving this year, but the Voyagers, they had a little bit of a mid-season rut, but they are still one of the best teams. So I gotta go with them.
All right, entering the 4 p.m. slots, we got the Cougars versus the Sentinels. That's a good one. I got the Cougars though by a field goal or more.
I'm not gonna do it again. All right, I'm not going against the Cougars anymore. So I'm gonna take the Cougars with this one with the spread.
All right. I guess that's straight to the point there. Next 4 p.m. game, Dreadnoughts and Bisons division rivalry right here in the ARC South. Same point spread, but I got the Dreadnoughts winning this one by 3 or more.
This is really tough call for me to make because the Bisons, they had a bad game last week, but they've not been a bad team this year.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, the Dreadnoughts had Copeland play in some otherworldly fashion. And I don't know if he's going to keep it up. And I don't know if the Bisons are going to play up to their potential. So I'm going to roll with the team that's been more consistent. I'm going to go with the Dreadnoughts, and they'll cover the spread.
All right, Steamers versus Shamrocks division rivalry game. 3.5, so 4 points in favor of the Steamers.
Yeah, easy. I'll take Steamers on that one and the spread.
All right, last 4 p.m. Eastern game. Bulls versus Armadillos. I got the Bulls bouncing back after their tough loss to the Cougars. 4 more points as well.
Same thing here. We're taking the Bulls. They got a bad break last week. Gino was on a mission, but they still have a really solid team. And the Armadillos, I can't get behind them yet this year. So got to go with the Bulls.
All right, in the final game of Super Saturday, I'll be calling at 8 p.m. Eastern. Another division rivalry game here in the NRC West. We have the Condors versus the Snowhawks. I got the Snowhawks by 4 or more.
Yeah, I got to take the Snowhawks to this one too. They are the much better team. The Condors are just way too inconsistent, and they're inconsistently bad. I don't even know how to explain it because they're still losing games, but they at least show some sort of life once in a while.
Yeah.
But the Thunderbirds, the Snowhawks are just way too good. I have to give it to them.
Hey, the Condors beat the Snowhawks last time they met, man.
Yeah,
16-9.
I know. And that's why there's not going to happen again. There's not going twice.
I just don't see that happening twice, especially with the inconsistency of the Condors. The defense at least showed up 2 back-to-back weeks. But moving back to the left side here, Sunday night action, 6 p.m. Eastern. This is a good one. Huskies versus Celtic Tigers. Been a while since we saw the Celtic Tigers in action. I got the Celtic Tigers winning at home by a field goal or more.
Yeah, I got the Celtic Tigers winning this one by a field goal or more. That I like the Huskies, but they same with them. They've been a little inconsistent this year. CT definitely has not been inconsistent, so rolling with them.
All right, 8 p.m. Eastern, Red Dragons versus Black Knights. I got the Red Dragons by a field goal or more.
This is actually a tough one too. The Red Dragons have been sort of like they did last year. They get through the games and they win, just by enough. They have some stuff that doesn't go their way, but somehow pull it out. And the Black Knights have actually been having a really good season. I like what their defense has been doing, but I'm still going to roll with the Red Dragons here. I think that's a fair point spread. I will give them the point spread, but this is going to be a good game, I think.
All right, now final day of games, Aviators versus Miners. That's another big game right there. It's been a while since we saw the Aviators in action. Marquise Washington in the RFL game's been tearing it up, and now they're going up against a hot Miners team on the road in Sacramento. But I do have the Aviators coming out on top with a win of over 3 points.
Yeah, I think the Aviators got this one. They've been gone for a little bit, but this is the best team right now in the entire league, and they're sitting pretty. I don't see them dropping to the Miners here, and they get the spread.
And the final game, it's a rematch between the Gunners and the Monarchs. The Monarchs kind of embarrassed the Gunners last time they played, and the Monarchs beat them 31-14 in their last matchup. I know usually, I have that feeling like Gunners aren't going to fall back twice, but this Monarchs team is different. I do think with the home field advantage that they will sweep the Gunners, and I made
that's got to be the smallest spread I've ever seen.
Yeah, pretty small here. They got to at least win by more than 1 point.
I'll take the Monarchs in this one. Yeah, with the spread. I really, really like what Coach Cam is doing, and I really like what the Monarchs have been doing. Schrader's been playing great. Gunners have just been really inconsistent for me. Too much so for me to rely on them. So yeah, I'll go with Monarchs.
Yeah, and that's big. That's a divisional game. Definitely could also, ruin the Gunners' chances of possibly even making the postseason. I mean, this is crunch time. Like I said, Week 13 is here. This is where it's at. Every game always matters, but it definitely matters even more when we get to this point. So
yeah, we're starting to get all sorts of playoff implications with divisional games and stuff now. This is gonna if you decide to watch certain amounts of games for the RFL every year, this next 5 weeks is what your 4 weeks is what you want to watch.
Yeah,
because this is where all of the big games and all of the playoffs are going to get laid out. Whatever you thought was real right now is going to be way different then, because there's way too many teams that are neck and neck right now for it to just go into the playoffs as is. There's going to be a lot of shakeup happening in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, it's like a pre-playoff for real. Like
yeah,
it's like
the first wave of playoffs.
Yeah. So it's like, man, is this like the same length as the playoff too? Like 5 weeks, and you got 5 weeks of playoffs, pretty much to the real goal. So it's like card, 2 playoffs here, man. It's definitely the best time to be watching the RFL, man. Make sure you tune in to as many games as you possibly can. It's getting real. But let's go ahead and get a look at the top 10 rankings heading into Week 13. It's very important, of course. These are also, the seedings and divisions and conferences, for when we get a look at the playoffs later on down the line as a topic we'll talk about. But we got the Aviators still sitting at the top of the league. Only 1 loss this season, 10-1. At number 1, you have the Celtic Tigers at 9-2. At number 2, number 3, the Steamers, same record. And the rest of these teams are 8-3. But at number 4, the Desperados, 5, Voyagers, 6, Thunderbirds, 7, Elks. Monarchs getting on this board. Crazy just even seeing that. But they're at 8. Miners at 9. And Snowhawks hanging on at 10. Thoughts on this top 10 ranking?
This is... I don't have much of a problem with this list. I just feel like the Diablos should be on here instead, but I don't know who to take off in replace of them.
Yeah.
I just think that the Diablos deserve to be on this list because they've had a really, really great season. I don't know, man. I don't know who I would take off, though. That's the problem. Like, I can't really give a reason to take away any of these teams, but I feel like the Diablos should definitely be in the top 10.
Yeah, I honestly have no problems with this one. I mean, the Diablos are having a great season, but of course, looking at the reasons why they're ranked there, the conference and division wins, it all makes sense. And I think that the caliber of the rankings is pretty good. We'll just have to see. This is why things are going to be shaken up at this point. It's going to be crazy looking at the rest of the season. So this is a short segment talking about this. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is, to me, a little bit shocking here. So Coach Rozier has put out a post for the Oklahoma City Lancers. In case guys didn't know about Coach Rozier, he's the coach
Oh,
of the Lancers,
man.
and he has stated that he will be starting. No more dual threat quarterback system. He is going to be starting the rookie out of Wisconsin, Morris Justice, in the next game. And here's a look at his statistics. As you can see here from the bottom, he's played in 3 RFL games in that dual quarterback system. He's only thrown 16 passes. Now, he's got a good percentage, even though the passes, of course, in the formations he's been in has been pretty much easy throws. He's 14 of 16, 87%. He's thrown 0 touchdowns, though. No interceptions, at least, but he has not thrown a single passing touchdown. Rushing-wise, he's done great. 14 attempts for 141 yards, averaging 10 yards per carry, and he's only got his 1 touchdown off of that play, which we're seeing right here. So what is your thoughts on Coach Rozier just being all over the place right now with his quarterbacks and starting the rookie? Do you think it's a good idea? What's your all-around thoughts on this matter?
I don't think it's a good idea at all. I don't understand why. Like, maybe it'll work, and even if it works, just don't. I don't really understand why a team that has things working for them keeps making such drastic changes to the team. That's the one thing that just I don't get. Oh, Mason, he's a far better quarterback than either of these guys, and he's sitting there for no reason. Tilsky is a better quarterback when it comes to throwing the ball than Justice. Justice has come in to be pretty much Taysom Hill type of quarterback for the Lancers, and not really get. He's not sitting back and dissecting defenses coverages. He's not trying to figure out, oh, is this cover 2, cover 3? Is the corner going to drop? Is the safety going to pull? He's just throwing it to the easy outlet passes and then taking off and running on half of these things. You're about to put this guy into a game to where now he has to do those things. He's not just coming in to run the ball. We have no idea if he's even if his ratings are even good enough to stand up for this.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. I've been wrong for some reason. Like I went 7 weeks and couldn't get a 75 or a 72 to work at quarterback. The guys are just throwing out 60 overalls with like 27 accuracy and winning games. So maybe I'm just wrong and everybody else knows what's going on. I just think this is just ridiculous. There's no reason to change it. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And this is the 3rd time they're trying to fix it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I feel like Rozier is really gambling a lot with his season this year. I mean, this is a team that very well could end up in the postseason, but I mean, you got to play to try to have consistency, some type of balance, and be able to not just get to the postseason, but try to win it all. And if you're doing this, I just don't see the Lancers beating most of any team with Morris at the helm. Morris Justice, you see these highlights. He's great at running the football, but we've seen dual threat quarterbacks this year. And if this is the starting guy, look, he only has this one highlight here. That's the one pass of this highlight that he has. He passing wise, 14 to 16 sounds pretty good. He hasn't done too bad. But like I said, there's been easy passes, and I do not see this guy taking over as a full-fledged quarterback. I could, even if we are wrong to an extent, and he has a couple of good games, I just know that this is a team. And I'm just saying, a team that is not going to win a Reload Bowl with these drastic changes, especially with Morris Justice at the quarterback position, especially with the type of quarterback that he is, which we've seen have issues in the RFL. I mean, when he starts playing some really solid defenses, man, and you're looking at him playing some solid ones here, all he's got is these rushing stats. But when he gets to the postseason, you look at teams like the Thunderbirds, Barons, your team, the teams that most likely they will be facing in the postseason. If they make it you still have to make it. This ain't the guy to get it done. I'm gonna be honest. He's a rookie. You got to prove me wrong on this one, but I don't know what Rozier is doing here with this. This is why, the coach, the half-season coach meeting, I still haven't been able to do that, man. I've been extremely busy, but, I have to talk with some of these coaches, especially Rozier, just to see where guys' heads at with their franchise. And I just don't know where Rozier is with the Lancers. It's just been too sporadic all over the place. This really shocked me when he even made this announcement. We'll have to see how this works out. And if it doesn't work out good at all, I'm pretty sure that Rozier's probably going to hurry up and put the rookie back on the bench, but we'll have to see. But this is shocking news.
The more I think about it, the more it upsets me. It doesn't make any sense. You are sitting here at 8-3 on the season. I don't know how you've gotten there, but hey, you got there, right? And you have 3 teams below you, all 8-3. You're not holding your division. You're actually third in the division?
I believe
Behind,
he might be second, but I think it's like a 3-way tie or something.
it's a 3-way tie at 8-3. I just don't know if he's second or third, but you have 2 teams outside of that, 3 teams that are also 8-3. And you're going to sit here and gamble on a 66 overall quarterback?
Yeah.
That just doesn't make any. The guy's got 55 awareness, 71 throw under pressure, 70 throw on the run, 73 throw on the run, 70 play action. Like, and then you're going to put him in against. Yeah, okay, fine. You're playing the Tigers this week. Are you testing the waters because you think the Tigers are a slouch? Because they're not. They actually have one of the better, I think, secondaries in the league. The rest of their team just doesn't hold up to them. So, like, I just don't get it, man. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's you are in a prime spot right now. You are in the playoffs. Are you trying to not make the playoffs? Are you because you were working? Your team is working. You're 8-3. Why are you changing everything? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the podcast is for us to speak our opinions. At the end of the day, this might work. You never know, man. RFL, sometimes it happens like that. We've been wrong on quite a bit of things, and we are, the experts for the most part about the league. We know a lot about the league. We know a lot about the players, and sometimes the players, they show out and they play better than expected. Morris Justice could be one of those guys. I didn't think this guy was going to touch the field at all this season, but somehow he's on it and he's starting, which is crazy. But, at the end of the day, it is up to coach. But when you do these things, you just better hope that it pays off, because this is the stuff that when we get in these meetings that I'm talking about is, and your team fails off of this, it's going to be a red flag. It's going to be an issue on how long you can stay here, and I mean, I got to put the pressure on, I'm throwing it out there. Guys are hearing, this better work, and if it doesn't work, hurry up and get this guy out of there. Do not try to gamble and try to prove that you're right when it's not actually working. Now, you've been right. You did the right things on a dual threat. Somehow you managed to pull off and have that work. And I think you did a great job with that because you put Morris Justice and Simon Tilsky in the right positions. But I do not see Morris Justice being a passing threat at all for this team. And if you win, I don't feel it's going to be because of Morris Justice. I think it's going to be because of that great defense you have. And so, this is the stuff that, when we get in this meeting that I'll be talking about, it's just like, what are you trying to do with this offense here? What are you trying to do with this team? I just need to figure out.
Yeah, and everybody's like, well, he's winning games. Oh yeah, okay, fine. And you know what? We're probably gonna look like bullies if this works. But
if it works, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's good.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is a podcast. You speak, what it is. I'm not going to bell the guy or nothing. I'm not saying it's not going to work. I don't get it, man. Yeah, it's just really just don't understand why this is being done at this point in the season.
Because you also have to look at it from the standpoint of what ifs, right? Obviously, you always look at the what ifs, but what if now, because of this, you send this 66 overall dude who can't read a defense according to his awareness rating out, and he loses the game against the Tigers for you. Now you just lost a game, a crucial game in the middle of the playoff race to a team that's not even making the playoffs. And now because you decided to toy with your quarterbacks who actually haven't been really making things hard for you all season, and you're sitting at home. Like, I don't know. It just, I remember you and Rob too. Like, I did this last year and the year before. I'll be sitting there and I'm like, I had a game and my defense gave up 75 yards rushing. And I was like, this is so stupid. I should not give up that many yards rushing. I'm like, I'm changing the defensive playbook. This is stupid. And you guys all said, why are you going to, what do you expect to happen? Not everything's going to be perfect. You're not going to throw 80% completions. You're not going to throw 400 yards passing or 5 touchdown passes every game. But the formula is working all season long. So at some point, you keep messing with this, it's going to backfire. It's just going to. And you don't want it to cost you the whole season. I don't agree with it at all.
Yeah, that's just our our opinion on it, but we'll have to see. It might work. Prove us wrong, Rozier. That's all I can say. But moving on to some more news. Let's go ahead and talk about this. Jay Morris, running back for the Barons, he's looking to test free agency. He's been in talking about he wants to go into free agency and see if he can land on another team. So far this season, you get a look at his stats: 219 carries, 864 yards. Looks like another season in which he'll be on the way for 1,000 yards. There's only been one season throughout his career in which he has not got 1,000 yards as an OKC Bison. He's got 8 touchdowns and only 1 fumble this year. What is your thoughts on Jay Morris testing free agency? Should he just stay with OKC? What's your thoughts on that?
I can respect the reasoning for wanting to move because obviously the team drafted a running back rather high, and which is apparent that they're not fully sold on you or your abilities. That, of course, was a different coaching regime, so we don't know where the team's going to go. But what I do know is that you're working right now with this team. Things are working. You are not being benched for Price right now. You're the starting guy, and you're playing really, really well. What I also don't understand is where you're going to go to have a better situation at this point. And that's not a knock against Jay Morris and his abilities. That's just a how oversaturated this league is with running backs. Every team seems to have a running back or two that works with their system. So, like,
yeah. And just to say this here to Rozier, though, he's talking about 4 touchdowns. You know that 3 of those touchdowns came from NFL games, right? So he only has 1 rush. He only has 1 touchdown, and that was in an RFL game in which he ran. I'm just putting that out there. So do not throw out 4 touchdowns like he's involved.
He said that. Oh boy.
But go ahead.
He said 4 touchdowns.
He had 4 touchdowns for Justice Morris. He had 1 RFL touchdown and was not passing.
Has he completed a pass for over 8 yards in an RFL game?
Yeah, he has. That was on the highlight that was showing, and that was, I believe, 17 yards. It might have been his biggest pass.
What? Yeah, longest pass ever. And he was 4 of 6 for 27 yards the last time I saw him play.
Like I said, just prove us wrong, man. But looking at the statistics and things, man, this guy, it's tough to put this guy in this position. But let's keep on with Jay Morris. What you were saying?
I'm just saying this. Our league has a lot of running backs. So even if you want to leave, and let's say he would have gotten benched and he needs to leave, where is he going to go to actually start? That's the other part of this that you have to think about. Right now, you are the starter in Oklahoma. I know how you think, Smitty, and right now you are sort of the rep per se for this team, and you're going to keep going with Morris because he is playing really well. But you can't say the same if he goes somewhere else and now he's not the top guy.
Yeah.
So I can understand the move. I just don't think it's the right move right now because really there is not many openings where people are like, man, I really need a running back right now, especially when you're looking to start. That's a whole nother ball game. Just getting on a roster enough with your talent and being needed, but now starting. You're not going to start on half these other teams, 3/4 of them. Yeah. So I don't see it being a great move, but I wish the best for him because he's a great community member and he is a talented running back. There's just a lot of guys out there right now.
Yeah, and you pretty much hit on everything that my thoughts on this. The biggest thing also is, as being a rep for this team, doing what's best for the team. If he hits the market, bro, there's a lot of free agents going into a lot of big name free agents at this position of running back that's going. If he wants to test free agency and the college series coming in, man, if he tests free agency, I don't see why I don't go out and get, Kadron Lusk or DJ Scott, these big name running backs, or Cornell Mickens, who might even be gone from the Wizards. We'll have to see how that cross conference thing, if that's even possible. I doubt it might be. We'll have to see. But if it is possible, these are guys who overall wise are better and have more of a presence in the league in history. So like, it wouldn't be smart of me not to get one of those guys if he's in free agency, because he's testing it. He's looking for a team, but there's honestly if I'm looking at the free agency roster, better backs out there. So, this is an ideal position for him. I think he should stay, but of course that's up to him. If he's confident, think he'll be able to start somewhere, or if he's okay with sacrificing the touches that he's getting now, then that's cool. But I still don't even see even being a backup really for certain teams. Some guys already got their guys. They could be low overall than Jay Morris, but they're talented and they're young, and they rather build those guys up. And Jay Morris, he's young. He's 25 right now. He's going to turn 26 at the end of the season. But, man, he got guys that are 20, 21 years old, 70-something overall, guys like Byron Benedict without the age that, guys are looking for their future. And I don't see Jay Morris really having an opportunity anywhere else than where he is. But we'll have to see how that all turns out. Of course, that's going to be the decision up to him. As the OKC rep, I'm, of course, looking to, if he wants to stay, I will look to sign him back. But if not, and there's running backs out there, man, you better hope you find somewhere, because I'm definitely going to be picking up one of those dudes out of free agency. And if not, then I might not even sign, because you got the draft. There's, it's going to be tough.
Look at Pat's comment.
He said Jay can be the next QB for the Lancers. Bell for a good joke.
Oh, and you know what? And just to sort of add that in, I didn't want to say it when we were talking about the games because I knew this was a topic, but that's the exact reason I picked the Tigers. That is the why I picked the Tigers.
Yeah.
In that game. I just don't see this happening.
Damn. But we'll have to see, man. Best of luck to Jay Morris. Hope keep having a great season. I mean, what is this? 136 yards away from another 1,000-yard season. He's going to get that. So another great season. He's got a good resume, but you know how the RFL operates. It's going to be hard to try to find a home somewhere else. But that's it for this topic. Let's go ahead and do a what if segment. So this is a look at the playoffs currently, if it were to start today. So what we're going to do is play Who Wins the Relocation Bowl right here. Predictions. If it was to start today, and of course end today with the games playing somehow, even though that will never happen in real life, let's go ahead and go through each game. So the first matchup on the ARC side, let's start from the left and go to the right. It would be the Celtic Tigers versus the Sentinels. And then the Voyagers versus the Red Dragons. And the Dreadnoughts versus Miners, with the Aviators having a bye. Then we go to the right side NRC. Bye team would be the Memphis Steamers. And then the Elks would take on the Monarchs. I still can't believe the Monarchs are in there. But Desperados and Diablos, and the Thunderbirds and Lancers. And boy, that was not good last year. So
No, it wasn't.
if we're looking at these matchups, let's go ahead and break these down. So just a what if game. So Celtic Tigers versus Sentinels. Does Celtic Tigers sweep the Sentinels this season? And they have been the first game was pretty close, but the second one was a dominant performance by the Celtic Tigers. Do you think that the Celtic Tigers will do it a third time?
I don't know, man. That's tough because part of me wants to choose Celtic Tigers, but we all know once that playoff atmosphere hits, they sort of tuck their tail between their legs. And yeah, I don't know. You know what? No, I'm gonna go. I'll go Celtic Tigers in that one.
All right. I'll pick the same. I do feel like they would probably pull out with that. Okay. Next game, Voyagers and Red Dragons. These guys split and division rivals this season.
I love the Red Dragons and Coach Davis, but I'm gonna go with Baker and the Voyagers. I think that the issue in this game for the Red Dragons would be the inconsistency with Anthony Savoy, and the Voyagers are a defense you don't want to have those inconsistencies against. Wow, that was a mouthful. So I think they would take that one.
I got the Red Dragon. I think the Red Dragons would win. Yeah, Voyagers would be at home though. But yeah, I would say the Red Dragons. But we're gonna go with your predictions. Well, we'll go with our own. So I'll say Red Dragons. The next game, Dreadnoughts and Miners.
I got to
Dreads.
take the Dreadnoughts there.
Yeah, I got the Dreads. So we agree on that. And from looking at that, at least from my perspective, from my take on this, the Dreadnoughts would be 4. So who's the weakest rank out of this? For me, it would be the Red Dragons. So the Red Dragons would play the Aviators, and it would be the Celtic Tigers versus the Dreadnoughts. For you, it's the Dreadnoughts versus Aviators. Yep, and the Celtic Tigers versus Voyagers. That would be crazy, man, because that was the week 1 opener where they upset the Celtic Tigers. Let's talk about the Aviators though and the Voyagers. Who do you think would win that?
Well, they wouldn't play each other,
Oh,
would they?
Aviators and Dreadnoughts. My bad.
Yeah. I would take the Aviators on that one. I just think they have right now they're playing at a whole different level. Every other team, there's been a couple other teams that have been dominating, but they have taken a few losses, and the Aviators have not hit that wall yet. So I'm not going to discount them any more than I should. So I'll give that to the Aviators.
All right, so the Aviators would be advancing to the ARC Championship for you, and then for the Celtic Tigers and Voyagers rematch, who would you take?
Celtic Tigers and Voyagers. I'd take Voyagers.
Gotcha.
I know you're not going to take them, but I don't trust Dre in the playoffs, man. I'm sorry.
That's
just
understandable. That's understandable. Okay, so mine was different. I had the Red Dragons advancing. So it would be the Aviators versus Red Dragons. And in my honest opinion, I think that the Red Dragons would beat the Aviators. And so I would have them going to the ARC. And then for the Celtic Tigers versus Dreadnoughts, I would take the Celtic Tigers. So it would be for the ARC Championship for me, Celtic Tigers versus Red Dragons, and for you was the Aviators versus Voyagers, right?
Yes.
All right. So who would you take in that game to go to the Reload Bowl?
I would take the Voyagers in that
Voyagers.
game.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Voyagers, in Bill's perspective, if this playoffs was to start today, he would have the Voyagers going to the Reload Bowl. Me between the Celtic Tigers and the Dreadnoughts.
You mean the Red Dragons?
Oh, Celtic Tigers, yeah, and the Red Dragons, my bad. Man, the Dreadnoughts, I keep saying Dreadnoughts. The Red Dragons have problems with the Celtic Tigers, man. This is crazy, man.
Dre in the playoffs.
But I there's a possibility. I would take Dre making the Reload Bowl at least one more time. And if that matchup happens, man. So I would have the Celtic Tigers going to the Reload Bowl. You have the Voyagers, you said, right? So let's keep that for the ARC. Okay, looking at the NRC side. So Elks versus Miners.
That's surprisingly a difficult question. I'm gonna take the Elks. They've been there before, I think. And
Now they never made the postseason before.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Neither one of
I
those
just think
teams.
that they're a better team. I think the defense is better.
Okay, I'll take the Elks as well. Okay, man, third rematch, Diablos and Desperados. Everybody's saying bail yourself, but man, dudes be sleeping, man. You never know, man. Celtic Tigers is a crazy team. They might get it together this year.
They're not even gonna make it past the wild card round.
We'll see.
I'm gonna go ahead and take I'm gonna give it to the Diablos because I think that Forbes knows what he's doing with that team.
I would actually take the Desperados, man. I think the Desperados would win in that matchup. Thunderbirds and Lancers.
Thunderbirds.
Yeah, I got Thunderbirds too. So with that, in your case, it would be the Thunderbirds versus Steamers, and then the Elks versus Diablos. So Thunderbirds versus Steamers, who you got?
Sorry, Justin. Got the Thunderbirds.
Okay, and for the
Oh wait, no, it would have been for me. It'd be Diablos and Steamers.
Oh, Diablos. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, Diablos and Steamers. I didn't look at that number.
Sorry, Justin.
Diablos. All right, so
I
it was
like the Diablos, man. I think they're a really good team right now.
all right. So Thunderbirds versus Elks.
Thunderbirds versus Elks. Thunderbirds.
All right. So for me, it was so for me it would have been the Thunderbirds versus
Yeah.
Steamers. Okay, so I would take the Thunderbirds in that matchup, and then for the Desperados versus Elks, the Elks beat them this year, but I think the Desperados get revenge. So for the NRC championship, I think the Thunderbirds will play the Desperados. For you, it was what, Diablos versus Thunderbirds?
Yes.
All right, so who would you say would win that to go to the Relocation Bowl to take on the Voyagers?
Sorry, Forbes. I'm gonna go Thunderbirds.
All right, so I guess same deal for me. Sorry, Coach O'Neal. I don't see you guys beating the Thunderbirds if you guys did get there. So for me, it would be Celtic Tigers versus Thunderbirds, and for you, it would be the Voyagers versus Thunderbirds. So it looks like we agree that NRC, if it was a start today, that at least the Thunderbirds would get to the Relocation Bowl still for a third season, and at least to the NRC championship for a fifth consecutive year, which is crazy. Who would you say would win?
I can't believe you put the Celtic Tigers in the Relocation Bowl.
Hey man, I put them there, man. I put them there. I mean,
Shame on
I
you.
like the matchups. I like the matchups if it turns out that
we
way.
liked the matchups last year too, and the year before that. And what they do?
Cougars were an unpredictable team. They was hot. They was hot as Satan out here. They was hot as Diablos, you know. So like that's different.
That game like a hot potato.
That was and look, the Celtic Tigers, they did pretty good in the beginning. Then just shut down. Cougars just came out there, did some crazy, man. Balled out. You know, it is what it was. Roby's game plan kicked in, got the dub. You know, but I like the matchups, man. That's all I like the matchups. I got the Celtic Tigers beating the Sentinels for a third time. You know, I think that if they were to face the Red Dragons again too, they beat the Red Dragons, man. The Red Dragons haven't been able to beat the Celtic Tigers since the ARC championship. So I got them winning that too. And then for the ARC championship game, if they had to play the Voyagers again, or was it the Dreadnoughts? Who was it my matchup? I think it was the Voyagers. No, because they lost. It was the Dreadnoughts. If they had to play the Dreadnoughts, didn't they beat them this season?
Who? What?
Didn't the Celtic Tigers beat the Dreadnoughts this season?
Probably. They do that to all the teams in the regular season. That's what they do. They're like, oh, look at this. Week 1 through 17, we're gonna be good. And then wild card hits and like, what is football again? I don't know. And then they lose.
Check the schedule.
Smitty, you're over here like you don't want to see
they didn't
the
play.
truth.
They didn't play the.
You gotta open your eyes, man.
This year, they didn't play them this year.
You turn into Stevie Wonder when it comes to the Celtic Tigers in the playoff performances.
I'm just saying, these guys are due in balling right now. You never know when it all is going to come together. And like I said, I like the matchups. That's all I can say.
Horrible.
And
this is terrible.
This is what I would say though, if it came to the Relocation Bowl with the Thunderbirds and the Celtic Tigers in it.
I swear to God.
I got the Thunderbirds winning that.
Okay, yeah. Guys, we at least got them to come back down to reality.
I don't. The reason why I got that going down is because I think that, especially how Celtic Tigers have played in the postseason and stuff like that, and how at times their offense could be inconsistent. I think their defense would be able to do a pretty good job of shutting down Dre, and the offense would do just enough to win the game. I think that Thunderbirds would win the Relocation Bowl. If it were to start today and you had who? Thunderbirds too, right? Or the Voyagers?
Yeah, I had the Thunderbirds and the Voyagers, I think.
Yeah, who did you say? I thought you said the Voyagers you would pick to win that game, though.
Sorry, Baker. No, take Thunderbirds. This sounds bad because they're my division opponent, but man, this team is too good. I can't go against them half the time. It's just too hard.
Yeah, so I guess
they find ways to win, even in the games they shouldn't win.
Yeah,
it's so maddening. I think the only person who can relate to me in this scenario right now is Roland, and we don't ever see eye to eye on anything because we are in the same division with this. But it's just maddening how they can just completely suck for 3.5 quarters, and then all of a sudden Boom! They're in the lead.
Better hope it's not raining that day. Better hope it's not raining in any of those games, or the Thunderbirds might be in some trouble, man. You got to take these guys out.
So Regier says they're not winning. So you, with your 55 awareness quarterback, are going to beat the Thunderbirds in Toronto.
Y'all got blew out 23-0 last time in the playoffs.
Stop it.
Only team
Stop it.
to get shut out.
Bell them. Bell them.
I bet you for that. Can't be saying that. I can't be saying that. We don't know, though, but like I said, can't be saying. You got to hope that you're in this at the end of the day. So, you know, right now we're on your neck about this this decision, man. And we're definitely going to be watching these games to see how it plays out. Don't sleep on the Tigers.
I hope he proves me wrong. I hope.
Yeah, so that's it for if the playoffs were to start, who we got winning. We both agreed that the Thunderbirds in this scenario would win the Reload Bowl based off of our predictions. And moving on to our second to last segment, it's Fun Facts with Pat. Now, these are going to be lengthy because he came up with some pretty in-depth some pretty in-depth ones that you might have to do a bit of research for, man, to be honest, because yeah, I might have to give you guys 2 minutes on each one of these.
He says 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
We gotta use a list that I don't even know if the general public has.
Yeah, let me minimize this screen right here and pull up the
I might give you 2 minutes.
Yeah, you might get 2 minutes on each of these questions, guys. So yeah, okay, so I'm pulling up the chat so I can at least see you guys, because I have to pull this up from my phone for the timer. All right, so the first question. In the NRC, Garrison Ash and Antoine Buck have made 4 straight playoff appearances. Which 3 ARC players have made the last 4 RFL Pro Bowl teams? Timer starts now.
Yep. And for anybody who's not participating, if you guys want to go ahead and drop some questions in the chat to cover up some of the time we got here for these complex questions, if you have any, of course. And I don't know if we mentioned it before, but I want to make sure that we. What's that?
I said also make sure that you guys put all 3 of the names together in one comment.
Yeah, and something that I think we forgot to mention way earlier. McCall or Legion of Gaming in the chat actually did a $5 donation.
Oh yeah,
so I just want to give a shout out to him for that.
Yeah, hashtag Reload Gang in the chat.
Even though he was telling me, even though he's telling to bell me, thanks.
All right, let's see where we're sitting at on time. Oh, am I looking at the right thing? Okay, down to a minute. Yeah, coaches can't participate. Do not comment.
This was crazy. I can't believe you got 2 minutes for these guys.
Yeah, I had to give them 2 minutes because this is just the first one.
You should have gave him like 20 minutes.
I guess an OG should be able to get this though. OG RFL filer should be able to land this one. Half a minute.
When your name is in pink on the prospects sheet, that means that you chose to go to a school that currently already has a prospect in that position, and you are not going to be a starter there. Some of the guys that are in pink might end up changing because we have transfers open to anybody, but from as far as I know, the guys that are in pink are the guys that have to end up moving to another school if they want to play in the college series and start.
All right, that's the timer, man. These were some pretty hard ones, man. I'll have to give you cut half on these because I don't think anybody's really going to be able to get these answers right, Pat. So I'll give you $250 for each one of these. But well, they were in depth, but yeah, they really didn't have a chance on these. It's pretty tough. So I'll give you $300. We'll go with $300.
I see what Pat's doing.
$300 on each one.
He's gonna get these reloads. He's like, yeah.
For the ARC Pro Bowl teams, 3 players was Brady Hudson, quarterback for the Huskies, Henry Nielsen, the center for the Celtic Tigers, and Jason Lindsley, defensive end for the Celtic Tigers.
We got a center on that list. Nobody was going to catch that one. Nobody was going to catch that one.
Man, if you're OG, you should know Henry Nielsen's been to every Pro Bowl.
Yeah, but we can't
It's the
even get
only
dudes
lineman
to
you
submit
just about
offensive
know.
linemen. Ain't no way they're paying attention to him.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, let's move on to the next one. The next one, in Season 2, the RFL started allowing teams to draft submitted players. During the Season 2 draft, which RFL team chose the most submitted players? Now, this you'll get a minute for because there's only 32 teams. So, wow, time starting now. Oh, and you have to also say, so you also have to get the amount of players they drafted correct as well.
Jeez.
Well, actually, am I reading this right?
I don't know. Are you? Are you reading the same screen I am? Because it doesn't say that on here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm right. It's right. I mean, it doesn't say that on there, but add how many submitted players did they take that season. And you know what? I'll add an extra minute because I was talking during it.
McCall also wants to know if we can post the prospect ratings or prospect. What was the question? Rankings. I'm assuming. I don't know if we even have.
We're not posting anything about prospect rankings or anything of that nature. That's for mention them that are hosting the draft stuff there. But during the season of the RFL, we're focused on putting the RFL out there. I know guys, talk about real life. Oh, they would have college information out there. It's different because we want guys focusing on the pro leagues. A lot of guys try to focus on themselves and their players instead of really focusing on where you're going to be at, and that's the big thing. So, all right, we got a winner, and it is Eric Strotter, of course, because it's his team, and it's the Thunderbirds, and they picked up 4 submitted players in Season 2's draft. So the Thunderbirds is correct, and because it was a basic question, a basic question that we usually get during these segments, he'll get 500 for that, and Pat will get half with 250.
All right, so this is what's going to happen. I will only give Strotter his pay if he does not intercept Worrell this weekend or this week. So,
so right
what
now,
do you want more, bud? Better leave my quarterback alone.
So right now, 500 for both Pat and ESJ right now. And for the last one, now this is the one I really should be giving 5 minutes for because this is crazy. All right, so courtesy of Mitchie, who helped him out with this question. Of the 32 RFL starting quarterbacks, actually, this is the regular question. Never mind. It just is a lot of answers. Of the 32 RFL starting QBs, which ones are user submitted players? And I'm going to give you a minute and a half. That's a lot to type out, so actually I'll give you 2. So who are all the submitted quarterbacks in the RFL that are starting right now?
That's a lot.
I will give a total of, there's 11. There's 11 players.
These guys are just throwing out numbers. Justin, you know the answer to that question.
Yeah, this one's a little, this one's tough to try to answer within the time period, I think. I don't think anyone's going to get this and type that out in time. So Pat, if nobody does get this, you'll just get another 300 instead. So honestly, Pat should have 250 from the last.
Nobody is listening to the names thing. They're just throwing numbers out there.
Yeah, and Pat saying names, please. I don't even think they can fit that in one message on here. So yeah, let's just end this now. I don't think anybody's getting that, man. That's quite a bit of names. Unless you do the last names. You can do the last names. But the time's almost up. Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that. I'm gonna be honest, Pat. That was a tough one, man. I don't think anybody's gonna be able to type that out. But here are the list of the guys. So Pat will get 300 for that. So there's 600 plus the 250. So he gets 850. So Pat will get 850 for the questions today. And there's Preston Schrader, Eric Fisher, Chase McCoy, Ryan Brinker, LC3, Billy Johnson, Anthony Savoy, George McAfton, Chum Lee, Travis Frazier Jr., and as of today, I guess Morris Justice. Even
That's
had
dumb.
that there.
That's terrible.
So those were the 11 players that were that are starting as submitted players currently at quarterback. So with that being said, we are done with we're just about our main topics. I don't know why this keeps coming on every time, and I can't stop it. Okay, there it goes. It cuts.
It's just such a cool intro that it just has
Just
to play
wants
again.
to jump up there, right? And do this
Yep.
every podcast. But there is one more thing I wanted to discuss before we go into open questions. This podcast felt like it was longer than usual, but it hasn't even been 2
It's
hours.
actually
yet.
shorter.
Yeah, that's crazy. We talked about a lot, put a lot of information out there soon, but here's some more information. Check-ins. You guys got to check in, man. There's a lot of dudes who missed first day. And I said late night yesterday during the college series check-ins for the prospects that if you at least attempted to check in yesterday on the first check-in, and I know it was hectic and guys were all over the place trying to figure out how to check in, even though I don't understand how it's that hard. But, hey, I gave you a check for at least attempting to try to check in. And we still had a ton of guys still not check in. Don't think I'm kidding when I say that if you miss 3, you're out of here. All right, so you're just going to be salty bull at the end of the day if that ends up being you. So I'm going to bail those guys who did not check in. If you checked in or tried to check in and your player's name was not on the list when I posted it on who missed or who didn't, and your name, like I said, was not on that list, your player was not updated into the system yet. That was the current list that we had, so you technically did not have to check in. But once your name is on that list, and Bill updates that, then you will have to check in, which I'm pretty sure by next week we'll have those names on there. So make sure you check in and show up to at least one game. I will explain this again. All you have to do is show up to a live game. You don't have to sit there and watch the whole game if you do not have the time, okay? Guys are thinking they have to come to a whole game, watch the whole thing. Just show up, support, and be interactive with the time that you are there. At least 5 minutes. Chill, spend 5 minutes, show up to at least one game that week. Screenshot your activity. You don't have to screenshot everything you talked about in the chat. Just screenshot where you were active, and make sure it's not a hi guys or what's up everybody chat, because that's not going to fly next time. If you just say hi, if you have one of those posts, you're getting an X, because everyone's going to just pop in and then leave. I'm not sure if you were there really spending time or not. And at first I was saying like I would go back and check everything, even though for the most part I do that anyway. But no, I really shouldn't put that on me. You should have it in the picture, and I would know, oh yeah, he was there. So make sure that you screenshot your activity at the game. Don't forget to screenshot your activity. If you do, it's not the end of the world either. Just go back to the game that you were at, hit the live chat option on the stream, and once you hit the live chat option on the stream, it will bring up every comment that was in the live chat of that game. Find where you talked, screenshot it, and boom. Save that till Tuesday, and then post it with your player information. Your player information, for one, should be copied and pasted, ready to go for Tuesday anyway. All you have to do is get the screenshot of you being active. That's nothing. And the dudes that are giving me these excuses about not being able to at least do that, at the end of the day, like I've told most people, it's not personal, but you just don't have the time to be here. It's not my job to make it easier for guys to be able to stay here when I know they're not even going to be able to be active. You're taking up space. So for that reason, you just really have to bounce, man. You really can't be here. You know, this is for guys who have the time to really be a part of the league, and that's what we're moving towards. That's what we're all about. We're about making the RFL more exclusive. There's too many years that have gone by where dudes have been taking up space and dudes aren't even here following their players. There's so many players without a user even coming in to check on him. It's ridiculous, and we're not doing that no more. I'm not doing that no more. So if you missed out, you missed those 3 days. It's a wrap. I don't want to hear any excuse about it either. It is what it is. I mean, we said this earlier on, and we said, what you were getting into even on the application. It is what it is. Take it however way you want. That's the way the RFL is moving. That's how we're going to build up the activity and build a true community, not people who just want to be here when the times are all hyped up, just playoffs or just watch their player once every month. I'm tired of that. I'm not accepting people in the league anymore like that. You're not taking up a roster spot doing that or having that mindset.
Yeah, because okay, I have a little bit of a stuff I want to say about this topic too. But first, I want to say, if you're watching this and you're waiting, I'm aware that I have like 50 flipping messages that I gotta go through on the website. I've had a busy week at work. I will get to them hopefully tonight, and I will send out whatever invite you were waiting on or whatever the case is. But I just want to make this clear as well to everybody now coming to the website and to my DMs asking for invites. If you have a player in this prospect series, I've already sent you invites before.
Yeah.
So you have decided not to join, or you've joined and decided to leave. And I just honestly, if it's not something you have time for, just let it go then. Because when we have a user player, right? Like there's so many pieces to this, and I don't think a lot of people understand this. So let's take a user player and put him on a team, okay? And let's say that user player is not active at all. They're not here. So now we have a player that is basically computer generated, but is not, because it's a user player. And because he's a user player, the coach will feel weird about making storylines because it's not their player. It's not computer generated. They can't make up stories. So now that part is sort of sabotaged. The second part, the coach can't even upgrade using the coach upgrade package because it's a user player instead of a computer player. So now that part is sabotaged. And then at the same time, you are taking up a spot from somebody who maybe would have been super active here, but they couldn't get a spot because all of these other guys just threw an application in and walked away. So that's why this is happening. We're not doing it just to drive up views and do all this other stuff. Like, yeah, the views are going to help us, but it's really about making a very immersive and intertwined league with all of the teams and its players. So and it's nothing personal. We say this to all the coaches too in our interviews. It's nothing personal. We don't think any less of you. If it's just not something you have time for, then you just don't have time for it. That's fine. It's completely okay. It's not for everybody. Just sit back, watch, show up to the games. You can still talk to us in the streams. You can join the fan Discord. You don't have to be a player to be around us, but just don't take up somebody's spot that actually wants to be here. Yeah. That's the worst part. And I've had like 5 or 6 messages in Discord this week alone telling me how they are too busy to do this because they have other obligations. They have work. They have school. Please don't.
Yeah, don't send us those messages.
We're not even showing games during most people's work time.
Man,
you can come into the games later. There's no reason to tell me that you are in school or at work 24/7, 365 and don't have a single iota of time to type in a chat. Yeah. Come on.
It's
like,
cool
that's not even
if that's really you. If that's really you, that's cool. You can watch the games. Don't submit a player. Do not try to be a player in this league. This is not. We're not gonna have you come in here doing that. Like that makes no sense. Why would we make space for somebody who doesn't have time to even be here to watch? And at the end of the day, that's why we don't. I'm not for promoting college series stuff during the RFL season because guys just focusing right now, for the most part on just their guys or the college. You got to learn about the league. I want guys who are here for the league, man. Like too many people just want to come here and just. For one, I don't even know what for because they just want to watch just a couple of their guys' games and say, oh, I'm a part of this and then just barely be here. But like I said, that's coming to an end. And, you got to know about the league, man. You could do all you want in the college series. It could be a hyped up series, all you want. But once that college series is over and you're going to the RFL, it's going to hit you hard because a lot of you guys, even right now, think that you're going to come into the RFL and start right away. It's not happening. It is not happening. There's guys ahead of you. There's even CPU guys ahead of you. And slowly but surely they are starting to age and fizzle out. But at the same time, there's guys who submitted players ahead of you, and they're not going anywhere. So you just got to have an understanding of the league, and if you got to be a real fan. Like, because if you're not really about this RFL stuff, there's no point of you even submitting a player. Because you could be sitting here 3-4 years, never even play a snap in the RFL. So I guess I could see why some of you are hyped about the college series, but if you're just here for the college series, that's just short-lived. We're not going to have you take up a spot for guys who really want to, be here. So, we're just speaking
and
real.
like, I'm not trying to be rude about this. It's just
You gotta be straightforward, man.
whenever somebody joins the league, it adds work to my plate. It adds work to Smitty's plate. It adds work to Rob's plate. It hinders what the coaches can do on a team, and that's all fine and dandy if at least we have the support of the player, and the player is interacting with the league and helping the league and making the league a better place to be and cooler place to come to. But like when you just throw a player at the wall and just walk away, all of those same things happen, but yet there's not even anything to add to the league, So that's what it's about. There's nothing wrong with, we get it. Dudes don't have time. That's completely okay. We're not expecting people to be able to commit their life to this, but we just want guys that are going to be able to show up, and like he said, we're not asking for every game. We know we have a lot of games. I get it. But just once a game a week is not bad at all. That's all we're asking for. And there's there's other places that do the same thing, and there's other places that charge a heck of a lot more than we do. And we're not trying to make it about money.
The
We
part
could be
that
charging
kills me
$50
also,
a thing.
man. Like, dudes, I wish I could show guys my inboxes from the league's messages, because some of you guys are not in here for the most part. You guys stay for this, because I've already seen some of the numbers dip off in views just because I know we were hitting home for some people that were sitting here watching, But like I was saying, there's guys just, man, they just, I don't even want to say it, man. It just doesn't make sense on the excuses and stuff that some people make to try to be here. Like, it's not my job to keep you here, dude. Like, we're growing our league. Why would I want to keep you here if you don't really want to be here?
Yeah.
Why do I have to try to make something happen for you? I'm not doing that. We're not doing that. Like, get out of here. I'm sorry. Like, you got to step your game up. You really want to be part of the RFL, man. You see what we doing out here? All this work we put in. You think we're gonna be putting in this work just for dudes not to show up, not to be here, man? Like, I've been doing it for 6 years now. Like, I'm not doing that no more. But it's open question period time, so you guys already know what it is with this segment. Share that to people who hasn't been active if you're a college series member, and let them know you're about to get booted, son. Let's play the bell for those guys who missed, and let's play the bell for those who are about to get RIP'd in 2 weeks when they come up to the third miss and then show up on the college series. Where my player at? He's out of here. That's where he's at. Another bell for that. So
yeah, like I've had a guy, a couple of guys actually reach out on the website and ask when their player's going to play. Like, they have no idea if their player's going to play, and they've already played the entire series.
Crazy.
Like, they didn't even know that it's been over a year since these players were submitted and played games, and we're wondering when they're going to find out when their player plays.
Missed the whole season.
Like, how does that even? I
Ridiculous.
don't know. To me, it just boggles my mind. It doesn't make no sense to me.
Yeah, that's what I gotta say. I'm straight cutthroat this year and here on. I don't care what excuse you give me. If you don't check in, it's a wrap. That's it. No questions though?
I haven't seen any yet. I mean, we did go over a lot of stuff, so I mean, who knows? Maybe we just answered everybody's questions.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was very informational today.
Which QB has won the most Relo Bowls?
No one.
I think everybody has only had one, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because even though the Red Dragons, won 2, they had Joey Lewis in their first, and then the second was Anthony Savoy. Lewis wasn't even on the team anymore. I still don't get that though. How the dude missed an entire season. What?
I was so confused. I spent 20 minutes looking through emails trying to find this dude's app because I couldn't find it on the list. I'm like, did I like not put him on the list and all? And I went back and I'm like, hey man, what is the name? You know, what position and all that? What school? And then they told me. I'm like, bro, are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me right now? You played last year. It's over with. What are you talking about?
And it's sad because he's going to be in this draft. You know, like that's
Yeah.
why we need to boot guys ASAP. That's not happening no more. It's ridiculous.
And we had Chrome asked, what about David Jones? Do you think he will have a better or worse legacy if he stays on the Bulls for his whole career?
I think he'll have a better. I think that's the spot for him, man.
I think so too. I think that team is geared to let him do what he wants to do.
You go elsewhere. See that you could take a gamble, try to do whatever, and it could pay out. But like, bro, if it's working for you right there, and might as well stay, because RFL's getting to that point where there's a lot of guys coming in, old heads dropping off, and the free agency is going to be fruitful, but it's going to be fruitful for a while because there's going to be some high overall players that were stars in this league just sitting in free agency. Like that's the real deal. You don't want to be one of those guys trying to, test things out, or even if you do end up going somewhere, and they use you up and you waste time off your player. He's getting older, he's regressing more. You never know, man. You might not ever be at that same caliber again. So
Rajier, do you see a 7-4 team or even a 6-5 team in the NRC North, or in the NRC? Wow, I just said North, was right at the top of my tongue. Making the playoffs.
7-4 team. What right now? Making the playoffs or something?
Well, right now, no. But like, I mean, there's so many teams that are only a game away from each other.
Yeah.
You can't say no to a 7-4 team right now. 6-5, yeah, that's
just about done.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. With a ton of help, a 6-5 team right now could win if they win out.
Yeah, I was about to say even that could turn around.
But yeah, 7-4. I mean, the best team right now is the Steamers have the best record at 9-2. Everybody else is 8-3 or 7-4. So, I mean, a couple of those teams have a wrong week, and the other teams have a good week, and that flip flops. So easily 7-4 could still make it.
And for guys, just in case if Coach Back says something, we know that the Aviators are 10-1, but he's just talking about the NRC side.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the NRC side. Sorry, don't remind me. We all know.
Coach Back is the guy who even told everybody he was 10-1 before it happened, like before he advanced the week. That's how hype he is about his season right now.
Yeah. Do podcasts count for the check-ins?
No, because that's not the week. I want to see guys at the game, actually. Podcast, everyone just about, shows up from time to time on and off at the podcast, but we get typically a good amount of views on our podcast. So I wouldn't count that. I want to see guys at the actual games.
And Michael King, we have no clue when Redbubble is going back up. It's been a weird situation with that.
Yeah, so with Redbubble, and Rob, if you're still here, I think he is still here. I saw you still posted up, but let's not post up the Redbubble thing anymore, because I don't feel like that's coming back for some reason, because these guys, for one, we didn't get no warning that our store was taken down. They didn't tell us if it was by copyright or nothing. We had no warning. They just completely shut down the store. We have no email at all claiming that anything was copyright of any sort. And honestly, looking at the store, we made our own logos and designs. The only thing I could think of is because we had posters with Madden players on them. But even then, we took out NFL, everything. It was still the RFL stuff, and EA themselves have it where it is legal for you to use in-game photos of Madden and make money.
As long as it's not using real-life players.
Exactly.
Which we're not using.
And this was another idea because I already spoke on this before. And this is what I don't get. If guys can figure this stuff out, I'll put this out there in the community because I know we got some guys who do some research and try to figure things out. We really had a great card game idea coming out for you guys, man. These cards were hard, right? And unfortunately, we couldn't make that game happen for you guys to be able to purchase because of the same reason, I believe. And that was, well, it's not, I believe, I know it's for a reason why the card game didn't work. I think it's the same reason, though, for the Redbubble. But for the card game, the reason why we couldn't get the card game out to you guys for the RFL is because they say we need consent or something from EA in order or something to use that game. But they already have that out there where they say you can use the in-game photos as long as they're not real-life players. So we tried to debate it. These dudes didn't want to listen. If anybody can find a card spot or something for us to actually make this stuff come alive, we have the cards and stuff like that, designs and everything already set for you guys. Like, if anybody can find a spot that will actually work out for this, then let us know so we can get this card game out to you guys because it's going to be fire. It wouldn't be a card game, unfortunately, though, for the college series guys. It won't work for the college series guys, unfortunately, because that's real colleges. We can't use the real college logos. So that's different. But RFL, this game was going to be fire, man. You know, like, it was going to be fire. So someone looking at that, please, we've been looking into everything.
And then I just wanted to read this because he wants it to be read. NP Dragon Rage says, not really a question, but I want people to read this. This is real football, not like a career mode where you automatically start. You have to earn it by showing up.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. What's his name?
NP Dragon Rage. That is a cool name.
Let's get hashtag NPDR in the chat, man, because that's kind of lengthy, I guess, for some people to type out. Got some lazy typers in here, type as slow as me. But yeah, shout out to that guy, man.
And then Pat wants to know, what is the most attractive open RFL coaching job? That's a tough one.
What, that's open?
Yeah. Because, I mean, it depends on what you want to do. Like, some guys want to come in and win right away, and other guys want to be able to create their own, identity.
It depends. Definitely depends.
I honestly don't think I think the Tigers are a decent team to pick up. They have a decent, youthful core to build off of. They're just in a really tough division, but they could be right up there with the rest of the division with a good offseason and some good progression.
I just really like the talent of the Desperados because it's not like their talent.
Too, but that's like I said, it depends on your cup of tea.
Yeah, it's not like they wow you though. With the talent, like of course other than Tavion Hall for sure, but like if you look at the guys on this team, it's just that the abilities, the strengths of their game is just in the right areas with the players that they have. Like that's what I'm very interested in Desperados. Why I think that they're a successful CPU team is because their talent is not a high overall, but it's really good because of the specific players at those positions. What's that?
I just read CP's comment. I don't know what's going on in the chat, but I'm just going to ignore it.
CP's comment. Let me see.
It was a while ago. It wasn't. I'm still up here looking at trying to find questions.
Oh, the midget.
Did I miss something? What kind of conversation is going on in the chat?
Yeah, but it looks like we passed our 2-hour mark, so this podcast is going to be over. Appreciate the guys who came here. If you haven't already, make sure you smash the like button. Like I said, man, if you're trying to stay in this series, man, make sure you check in. It's getting real. It's real in the RFL. I'm cutting guys off, man. I'm dead serious about that. We're trying to make this a real community with guys who have the time and real support to be here. So if you're one of those guys, keep checking in, keep doing what you're doing. If you're not, you should drop out now, man, or you're just going to be booted from the series anyway. But that's it for me. It's your boy Smitty, RFL commissioner and play-by-play commentator, along with Bill. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for week 13. Let's get ready, man. Peace.
Go Explorers.